welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 18. I'm your host and my name is Shorty and I'm joined as usual by a whole bunch of beans. Tonight on the line we have Cracker. How you going, Cracker?
Very well, thanks mate. Yourself?
I'm pretty good. We also have Chewy. How you going, Chewy?
Good, thanks. Hi, Beans.
G'day. And we have Scott, the Blasta Boy. How you going, Scott?
Good, thank you. Evening all.
G'day, mate.
Have you recovered, Scott, from your mono blue enjoyment over Christmas? In inverted commas?
Enjoyment now,
blue,
yeah.
yes.
I was going to say enjoyment. That's a word.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not in love with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And although playing against you on Christmas Day was entertaining, I suppose, for want of a better word. I'll go into that more in my Blasta Watch, though.
We'll get into that a bit more. But just leaving an opening there for Chewy just to get a quality joke to start off the podcast in there. But we have, as usual, a jam-packed episode. As Wizards seems to keep doing, they keep releasing new sets and making changes to formats and banning cards. R.I.P. Chewy. And giving us lots to talk about.
I feel personally targeted, by the
way. But we'll definitely be covering all that tonight. We mentioned last year that we're hoping to get back into our regular scheduled list of topics where we try and give you guys out there a little bit of education, but I don't like our chances of getting into that tonight, so we have enough other things to talk about.
When you blokes all take a whole bunch of time off and someone has to fly solo, you know, the topic's going to bank up.
Yeah. So, Chewy, you did a great job while we were away. We definitely had opportunities to record a podcast when most of us were together, but
we played Magic instead.
Yeah, we played a lot of Magic. If you're following us on Twitter or Facebook, you would have seen the photos and things we're putting up on there. Had a good time. As Chewy mentioned, we managed to teach a few kids how to play and things like that, so that was good fun. But yeah, Chewy, you flew solo for an episode and did a great job there, so well done to you. But you laid out a few challenges for us.
I did. I took the opportunity where you weren't there to defend yourself to throw down the gauntlet and put it out there on the internet. So, some amount of people...
Everything that's on the
must
internet
be
is
true
real
if it's
and
on
true.
the internet. Yeah.
Exactly. I posted on Facebook, so it must be.
Yes, definitely. But, your challenge for me was to top 8 basically a PTQ, the Wizards Play Network qualifiers or a PTQ or something like that this year. And, I'm definitely keen to take on board that challenge. I think, as you mentioned in that episode, it's definitely something I can achieve, as you yourself showed this last week, which we'll get into soon. It's definitely doable for someone who's been playing for as long as I have. So I'm very keen to not only make a top 8, but hopefully actually win one of those events and make my way to a PT.
That would be nice.
Cracker, do you remember what your challenge was that Chewy set out for you?
I do. I have to make Platinum on Arena.
Yep.
Or to EXO a minimum of a 4-round constructed event.
Okay. Well, making Platinum on Arena would require you to actually start playing it again. So.
Arena? Yeah, I know. I got my email today. It wasn't pretty.
Yeah. I've actually played a substantial amount of Arena over the last few months, so doing pretty well on that front. But yeah, I think it's time that you stepped up. It's you can run it on your laptop. It's pretty easy for you to do, and I think making Platinum it's a good challenge, but it's definitely doable.
I'm all for it.
You've got 12 months to do it, so you don't have to make Platinum in the next season, right? You can build upon and sort of lock in before the end of the year.
Yep.
It just means you have to play Magic all year.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame. And XOing a minimum 4-round event, again, definitely doable for someone of your capability when it comes to slinging spells. So maybe in an upcoming event in the next few weeks, we might be able to get there for something like that. So definitely doable. Chris is not here to defend himself. He's maybe playing Magic tonight. We have had very little communication from Chris this week. I'm just going to throw him under the bus there. But he managed to plan playing Magic on the same night that we record our podcast. But you can go back and listen to his challenge. Scott, your challenge. We can.
I've got the easy one.
Yeah, you got the easy one. You should definitely be able to do this. You've been saying this basically since we started this podcast that this was your plan.
Well, it sounds easy, but apparently it's really difficult.
It is quite. I'm just going to rock up one night, take a photo of myself inside the store, and then walk out again. So.
I'll check your Planeswalker points.
Yeah, we did.
No, but I am. I've been working on a standard deck. My Cavalcade deck, I want to turn into a proper deck. And so I'm going to work with our friends over at MTG Card Sales to finally get that deck together and then take that down with me. They do standard on Friday Night Magic, don't they?
Yeah, it's usually standard and draft.
Good.
Yep.
I'd be disappointed if it wasn't. But yeah, that's my plan. So once I get that deck together, I plan on taking it down because I figure it's a deck I feel very comfortable with.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you got the reps with it online, it's just, might as well be the deck you pick up in paper.
Just remember all of your triggers. Yeah. That will be the real challenge with your Cavalcade deck, man. You'll just be like, attack you, and they'll be like, yep, take 1, go. It should have been 12, never mind.
Yeah, you don't have Arena there doing it for you. Remember everything and count it all up and make sure you don't miss those crucial points of damage because, with the mono red decks, that 1 point of damage that you miss, that can be the end of the game for you, so...
Yeah. Also, you're not allowed to wave sparklers in your opponent's face to replicate your little fireballs. So just heads up, Scotty's local game store. He's taking burn to a literal sense.
I'm just gonna take along a lighter and a can of Mortine.
Burning your opponent out has a whole new meaning, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's gonna be like Gambit and just light cards and throw them at people.
So, Shorty, you mentioned that we were playing a lot of Magic over the break, but you actually disappeared for a little while. I think you had some work interstate, but you managed to, in your carry-on luggage, you managed to squeeze a deck box or two. So
I unexpectedly made my way down to Tassie for a week just to do a bit of work with one of my brothers, and squeezed a couple of decks in the carry-on luggage. I was definitely over the limit, and we had to do some sneaky. Here, you hold on to my laptop while I go and get my bag weighed and those sorts of things. I don't know if we should be putting that out on the internet, but.
How many pairs of clothes were you wearing at once, man? Like 6.
I was definitely wearing
jumpers
a couple of jumpers.
He still looks skinny.
Like that. Yeah.
I mean, you were going to Tassie, so it was probably worthwhile.
Yeah. But so it was down there without the family and was basically just working for the week. So I thought, well, I've got some free time. I'll go and hit up the local store. So there's a couple of local stores. I was in Launceston. Apparently, I'm the only person that calls it Launceston, and everyone else calls it Launceston.
It is Launceston, mate.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to continue calling it Launceston. But hit up
like
the local stores there.
Do all the houses have lawns?
Don't pick on me.
I think you forgot the point of this podcast.
Yeah. No, I'm here tonight. You can't pick on me when I'm here.
Oh, whoops.
Anyway, managed to get to one of the local stores there and play. They were running a couple of midweek tournaments. So I played Standard and Pioneer. So got the Jund Cat Oven out in paper, which is one of Scott's favourite decks.
Well, how did you go with all of those triggers? Yeah, that's
I did a pretty good job. I think I missed one drain trigger, which my opponent reminded me, and so we didn't miss it. But other than that, I think I did a pretty good. I mean, I've played a ton of that deck on Arena, so I've got it pretty much down pat. And it's a bit different to the Cavalcade where you've got like 15 triggers all at once. It's one trigger at a time, and you can kind of do it pretty methodically. But yeah, it was good fun. So I played that, and then got my first taste of playing Pioneer in paper, which hadn't had a chance to do yet. So I played the Blue Red Phoenix, which went quite well.
Bin chickens.
Yeah. But no, it was a good little store. So it's Scenic Isle Gaming down in Launceston.
I've bought cards from them on eBay a few times, actually.
Yeah. I didn't realise that either until I was sort of getting in touch with them on Facebook that, their Toothless Hog is the guy's handle or whatever on eBay. And, I've definitely bought heaps of cards from them. And, I had a bit of a chat to the guy there. So Jeremy, who runs the store there, it's a nice little shop. Like, it's small. It's nothing massive and fancy, but they seem to have a pretty good scene and pretty, sort of regular turnouts for their events. And, nice people there. So, it was a good bit of fun. Good to play some midweek Magic, which I haven't for quite a while. And when I wasn't at the store playing Magic, I was at the Airbnb we were staying at, just playing Arena. So a good week, I reckon.
Actually sounds amazing.
Should leave the family at home more often.
Hi, Kat.
I think she stopped listening to this podcast there.
Okay, good. We're okay
then. Don't worry, Rhonda hasn't. She'll tell her.
Yeah, great. All right, well, on to you, Scott. Blasta Watch, we sort of touched on a little bit. You and I got together over Christmas and we played, as we mentioned, we played a bit of mono blue versus mono red. Mm-hmm. And I forced you into playing the mono blue while I played your much beloved mono red deck.
I know. What's that? Yeah, don't worry. I've got some things to say about that too. I beat him once. But yeah, it was, where do we start? Christmas Day. Okay, so I took my one favourite deck, my Cavalcade, and my least favourite deck, my blue, to play against Shorty. And he made me play the blue the whole time. So that was an exciting moment for me. And then to top it off, not only did he not play his stupid cat deck against me, which was the worst thing ever, especially considering I didn't know how to use this blue deck at all. He then, just to rub salt in the wounds, decided to play my Cavalcade deck against me as well. So the deck that I was actually hoping to play. But no, it was a good day. I mean, it was always fun to actually sit in front of someone and play a game, especially a deck that you don't know. But no, it was a good day. I'm sure.
Yeah, my sort of theory there was that you're playing against a deck that you know inside and out, so it would kind of give you a bit more of an advantage when you're trying to figure out what spells to counter and that sort of stuff, because you know what the deck is rather than playing against an unknown deck that you've never seen before.
Yeah, no, well, as soon as you were putting the cards down, I knew exactly what was coming my way, so I was ready for that. But I think one thing I did take out of that blue deck, though, was knowing what spells you were casting and which ones I had to then counter. And that was a good experience, because in the past, like, Arena does hold your hand a lot, even with the decks that are fairly new to you, that does still hold your hand. But in this case, I really had to sort of think, okay, you're playing that Cavalcade now. That's the spell I need to get rid of straight away. And I think we even had a game where I was ready to get rid of a particular spell. I can't remember what it was that you cast, and you sort of said, no, hold on to it, because the next spell that comes out might be the one you want to get rid of the most, and it was. Yeah. So it's learning that part of it, which is interesting.
Yeah, and like playing the deck that you're playing, the mono blue, it's not really a control deck as such. It's more of a tempo type deck. But when you're playing counter spells, and especially a proper control deck, knowing the meta game and knowing what spells matter, what spells you need to counter, what else your opponent could have in their hand, those sorts of things, it's kind of essential. You really need to know that sort of stuff. And that's often why early on in a format, you'll see aggressive decks be really popular and do really well, because the control decks kind of need to know what they're going up against before they can actually be successful. So, yeah, like from my side of those matchups, or the games that we played, I know the metagame, I know the decks, all that sort of stuff. I know what could be in your hand. And I know we had a situation where you had 3 mana untapped and you cast a 1 mana spell in your main phase, so leaving you with 2 mana untapped. And then you pass the turn to me, and I explained to you then that straight away, that indicates to me what the possible counter spells are that you could have, because you've only got 2 mana now. So I now know you could only have a quench or an essence capture. So then that then gives me the ability in my turn to then play around those counter spells. And I know, like, from our conversation on the day, that was something that you'd never even considered to think about. So yeah, just a good chance to sort of open your eyes a little bit more to that next level, which hopefully you'll be at soon enough, especially if you actually get down to an F&M and start playing.
Magic is a hard game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing, though, was at the end of it, when we were getting ready to sort of put our mats away, and he then took my Chandra cards out of their sleeves and tore them up in front of me.
What?
And laughed the whole time he was doing it. I just thought, that's a bit wrong, really.
Set your playmat on fire.
Yeah. And he took my playmat out the backyard, threw it away.
You are never playing these again.
Very unsportsmanlike behaviour.
Call a judge.
Yeah.
Rhonda was laughing as well, man.
A few of them, a couple of the family members were in the kitchen at the time saying, how's it going over there? And I said, I'm getting a lesson in humanity. Not humanity, sorry, humility.
Humility.
Humility and humanity. But no, it was a good day.
Yeah, good fun. But I think the other thing you wanted to talk about was the game that got announced, or I think we sort of mentioned it previously, the Magic Legends MMO that looks like it's coming out. They've sort of released a few more details about that.
I haven't seen this. I'm curious.
Get yourself comfy. It's time for rants. I'm gonna be a bit of a Debbie Downer here, unfortunately. I mean, as you guys know, I love gaming. That's one of the things I do. Apart from Magic, I do really like my gaming. And so when they announced this, I was looking forward to it, particularly because they kept touting MMO. Let's just say MMO was a bait and switch. It is not an MMO. They've released gameplay footage now showing it really is just another Diablo game, which is good. I mean, I've got nothing wrong with it.
So it's co-op?
It's co-op-y. Yeah, they reckon you do come across other players. I don't know how that's going to play out, but the gameplay itself looks very much like a Diablo-esque type game. And that in itself is great. Like, I don't mind that at all, as long as it's a good playable game. But I think the using the MMO phrase was what they used to get everybody in. And now if you go onto the website now, MMO has been removed entirely from the website.
Okay.
There's no mention at all about MMO.
That's not like Wizards to backtrack on things that they announce.
Well,
we've never seen that before.
In Wizards' defense, though, I don't think it's them. I think it's more Cryptic, and Perfect Worlds are behind it because they're the ones developing the game.
Maybe Cryptic set out a command to change the name.
Scott probably doesn't even get that joke.
No. But I'm going to jump in and just play a little bit of devil's advocate, Scott, because I know you were really excited about MMOs, but MMOs are personally I've never enjoyed playing an MMO. So I'm actually more excited now that it's not an MMO. You can hear the
disapproval in his voice.
I know. It's like,
No. I totally agree.
I'd much rather play a co-op. And we've had games like Shorty and with a couple of others where we'll do like a monthly thing where we'll actually like pack up our computers and take them to someone's house and play co-op, and it's awesome. We play till, sometimes we play until it's time to go to the pre-release, but other times, into the wee hours.
Yeah, it always ends up on a night that there's a pre-release.
And I love that because it's that social aspect, and I guess that's why I like Magic. And maybe I would like MMOs if I got into with them, but I would much rather play with my close mates, or like hibernate by myself and have that sort of disconnect. So,
yeah.
But
no, look, don't get me wrong. I think I probably haven't explained myself very well. I'm not much of an MMO player anymore myself. I haven't played an MMO now in probably about 12 months. My core gaming now is more like it's your co-op stuff. It's your Battlefields, it's your Diablos, your Star Wars Battlefront, that sort of stuff. The stuff that you play with friends.
Yeah.
And so for them to do this would actually be more appealing to me than if it was actually an MMO, because I think as a co-op-y type Diablo game, it would appeal to me more. What annoyed me the most about it was that they used the whole MMO phrase to sort of try and suck a lot of people in, thinking, it's a brand new MMO, it's going to be huge. That's the only thing that annoyed me about that. The other thing that's annoyed me too is that Perfect Worlds and Cryptic are behind it, and they are predominantly known as the pay-to-win developers out there. All of their games are very predatory in microtransactions. Like in this particular game, your skill sets, so like in Diablo, you've got your 3 or 4 skills that you can get off all the time. These are, in this game, it's based upon like a 12-deck card-based system, and those skills revolve as you play the game. But the only way you can get those skills from what we're seeing is to buy the cards or loot boxes, for want of a better of a term.
But it's realistic, so they bring out new sets and we have to spend money on them, right?
Yeah, it's
actually Magic, right?
It's perfect
like
Wizard, exactly.
Perfect partners.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it's Wizards, Perfect World, and Cryptic. So I think you just need to be prepared for the fact that you're probably going to have to spend a lot of money in game, because the game will be free to play and free to buy. Like it's free, but all the microtransactions is what's going to, I think, kill the game, which is a bit of a sad
So you got to
thing.
buy your decks in paper, buy them on Magic Online, buy them on Arena,
and buy them in Legends.
Buy them in Legends. They're wizards, they're smart.
Yeah, wow.
So that's the only thing I'm a little bit worried about with this particular game. But then again, the gameplay I did see did look pretty cool. Like there was
I've seen a couple of videos of it. It looked pretty decent.
Yeah, I think they've got a planeswalker sort of floating around and casting off all sorts of spells, and he looked a little bit like Jace. He was some sort of mental mage type dude. Yeah, and there was a red one that I saw, a red planeswalker with all sorts of fireball spells, and that looked really cool. So yeah, I haven't totally buried the game yet, but I'm a little bit. What I saw this week upset me a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's still a long way off. I doubt that we'll even get it this year.
No, I don't think so. But that's my rant over for that one. I was just a little bit disappointed.
They'll just release a little clip of Chandra somewhere, and it's got to be like, all right, all in, let's go.
Take all my money. Yeah.
Just reskin that red mage, and he's sorted. Yeah.
This time of year from now, I'll be telling how good this game is.
Did you know there's actually a Chandra comic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't read it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you knew they were there.
Got shelves of full of
stuff.
There's a whole bunch of them. I think all the Planeswalkers have comics out that I can remember. Even a few of the Planeswalkers I don't know.
Yeah, nice. All right, that's enough from you, Scott. Let's give Chewy his
get lost.
his 5 seconds in the spotlight. So Chewy, we mentioned it a little bit already. You played in what turned out to be, which I didn't realise. I don't know if you realised this as well, but it was a preliminary Wizards Play Network qualifier.
Yeah, I think Wizards are now just getting random letters of the alphabet and mashing them together.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's actually a thing from Wizards. Like, I know there are Wizards Play Network qualifiers. That's basically a PTQ that is held at certain stores. Stores of certain sizes are allowed to run them.
Yep.
So like Games Lab has had one already earlier this year, and they've got another one coming up in early March. But for some reason, Next Level Games in Ringwood, they've decided to, and it could be based on the size of the store and wanting to keep numbers low or something like that, but basically they're running 2 preliminary qualifiers, which then qualify you for the actual qualifier.
Yeah, so you have to, it's a little bit like the PPTQ system that we had 12 or 18 months ago. So regional qualifier. So they'll run the preliminary WPNQ or whatever it's called, and if you top 16 that event, that qualifies you for the next event, which you get free entry to if you're top 16, as well as the promo card. So so I went to the preliminary WPNQ. Wow, it's a mouthful. Like it doesn't even make it's not phonetic in any way, but I went there last week, and I did top 16. I finished 7th at the end of the Swiss. After there was 63 players, so there were 6 rounds total. So I essentially got the Eldrazi-tron list from 4 or 5 months ago when we played the PTQ, when it was like Hogax everywhere, and changed like 2 cards because it's all I really had time and sort of mental capacity to do. So it wasn't an updated list, but I managed to top 8 that event, which was a surprise. But it was pretty rusty. There was a few games that I lost that were wholly and solely my fault, but the deck feels really quite powerful. So I've qualified for the next phase, which is the week after next, which will be at the same venue at Next Level Games in Ringwood, and we'll have to if I win that, I'm on the Pro Tour. So it's a 32 player event.
You're on the Pro Tour again.
Yes. It's been for 12 years apart or something. So it's a I was just happy to make top 16. To make top 8, the prize support was fairly decent. Got a bunch of
what did you actually get? So you ended up 7th, you said? Yes,
finished 7th at the end of the Swiss, and then just like crashed and burned in the Eldrazi-tron mirror in the quarterfinals. But it was a $40 entry for the event, and I got $90 store credit and a collector's booster out of it. So I was pretty happy with that, for plus like 6 hours entertainment with a bunch of good humans. So always factor that in. It was really good. Shout out to Riley, who also made top 8. He's a friend of the podcast. He was playing Mono Red Prowess. He also bowed out in the quarters, but always seems to be in and around the top tables. Riley, so good on him. I played Eldrazi Tron with Khan, the Great Creator. So I was able to pull, worm coil engines and liquid metal coatings and walking blisters out of my sideboard. One of the things I did pull out of my sideboard as a wish target a number of times was Mycosynth Lattice, but
now you've pulled it out permanently.
But now I can't do that anymore because I said, in the intro when Shorty's talking about bannings that I feel personally targeted, and look, it would be remiss of me to have a podcast without mentioning Crack Clean Ironworks, and the sting, the ongoing sting of that being banned. But yeah, there was a ban announcement, and they banned Oko, which was amazing. That needed to happen. The card was a mistake, and it's good that they've taken responsibility for that and done the bannings. But they've also banned Mox Opal and Mycosynth Lattice. So the two
time for Mox Opal.
Well, I've been playing Mox Opal decks since I got back into Magic, like when we, when you dragged me kicking and screaming
back then, everyone was saying, Mox Opal really should get banned.
Yeah, and they finally did. But yeah, but whilst I really like the Eldrazi Tron deck, and I'm, obviously, it's a 60, I think it was 63 players. It was one shy of the 64 player cap. I top 8'd, an event of that size. I'm really happy with that, but I am a bit sad that I didn't play Affinity just one last time, because I've been playing that deck for a really, really long time, and it's a deck that it's basically the evolution of my first ever Magic deck, Affinity. So I've got, some sentiment attached to it. So to miss out on my last opportunity to play that, I'm a bit sad about that, but Eldrazi Tron was clearly the right choice for the tournament. But Mox Opal going, Mycosynth Lattice going. I was actually really surprised about it. It's a lock piece out of like one deck, really. Like the Eldrazi Tron deck plays it. Some Green Tron Green Tron lists play it, but it's not kind of the norm. But I guess it's kind of unfun, so I get that. But yeah, banning Opal and Oko sort of shuts down that particular Urza strategy and a couple of other decks. So I get that. But yeah, the Lattice was a surprise, but I think the Eldrazi Tron deck's still pretty good. I'm still going to play it.
Yeah, sorry, Craig.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say it was actually still posting really good results recently in Magic Online. So it had quite a good overall win percentage, and it's just a total feels bad, right? Like we were testing just before the tournament you went to, and I was just like, okay, I play Khan, I fetch this. I'm like, oh, well, I can't kill you next turn, so that's the end of my game. And like that's fine because you're paying 10 mana to do that, but
yeah.
You still only tap 3 lands.
Four land for and
sure, but over 2 turns. And so I think they just took the opportunity while they're like, well, hey, we're here banning stuff anyway. Let's just get rid of something that people are going to complain about inevitably, because it's when Mycosynth Lattice was printed, it was like never one of those things that they would consider, like null rotting on a planeswalker.
No, that wasn't. It wasn't in the sort of the roadmap at the time. I get that, but yeah, it's I'm not. It doesn't kill the deck by any. It doesn't have as big an effect as what banning Opal does have on Affinity. Yeah. I think Affinity and Hardened Scales are kind of casualties of the Urza decks being how they were. So that's unfortunate. I feel more disappointed about that. About losing, two decks that have been, Affinity's been around since the inception of Modern, so that's a little bit of an end of an era, and the Hardened Scales deck wasn't particularly popular at the time, so it's just that's gone now. But yeah, it's a I think it's good for the overall health of the format. It just, the two decks that I currently have together for Modern, one of them loses an I win button, which, gets it out of trouble in, some of its worst matchups. And another deck that, I said that, as I mentioned, I got some nostalgia with is kind of gone forever. So, but it's enough about me and my whinging. I'm really happy I made a top 8. And, in a couple of weeks I'm going to go and try and, qualify for the Pro Tour. But
it was pretty cool seeing the updates all day while you were playing, and it's like, oh yeah, well, one again. It's like, oh yeah, he's doing it.
Yeah, I won the first round, I lost the second, and I'm like, oh okay, I'm just going to concentrate on top 16 now, and then I just kind of kept winning, and I drew Chalice of the Void a lot, and I won a lot of dice rolls, and that combination means that Chalice on 1, and that that stops a lot of decks in Modern. I was even able to ID into the top 8, and it was a bit of a disappointing finish. I did not play very well in the last round. A bit of rust, a bit of fatigue. My magic fitness, if you like,
is definitely a thing.
That mental fitness. I hit the wall, I'll be honest, and I made some mistakes, but my opponent played really well, and deserved the win anyway. So it's we'll may get my opportunity to exact my revenge.
So the finals, effectively, like the actual qualifier, is in less than 2 weeks now, so it'll be before our next podcast. Are you thinking you'll be sticking with Eldrazi Tron? Like, we've sort of had a bit of a discussion off air that it seems like Eldrazi Tron is basically the same deck. It just doesn't have that one lock piece that can get you out of trouble sometimes, but it still functions effectively the same. Yeah,
you certainly won a lot of games without getting Lattice. Sometimes you get Ballista, sometimes you just didn't draw Khan and just attacked people with reality smashes. So I'll stick with it. What I'm trying to consider now is, with the metagame shift, how popular Dredge or a graveyard strategy like that would be, and whether I need to play ley lines in the board or some more spot removal, or what my sideboard looks like in a post-Lattice world. Will Storm be more popular, so therefore I want a Trinisphere, things like that. So and I guess the beauty of the Wish sideboard is, if you can kind of hedge a little bit and you just play one Trinisphere. And hopefully that hopefully I've kind of figured that out. There's a lot of artifacts in Modern that you can play that are all pretty useful. So I'm not sure what I am going to play as yet in the sideboard, but I'll definitely stick with that.
Okay, cool. So Oko is now banned in every format except for Vintage?
Legacy.
Still legal in Legacy for
Ren and
the
6
time
got
being.
banned in Legacy, but not Oko.
That's right. Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, I think they made a little bit of a mistake on that card, but yeah, safe to say, I'm glad to see it gone, because it was like looking at Modern lists these days. People are putting Oko in Burn. It's like, oh, I'm playing green. Oh well, I might as well just splash blue and play Oko. Like, why not? So yeah, it's a little bit of a stupid card. Mox Opal, I'm kind of glad to see Mox Opal go personally. It does suck a little bit that it affects Affinity, but it's a card that shouldn't really be in Modern. It's fine in Legacy where you've got other Moxes, but in Modern, probably shouldn't be there. And I think they've probably done the right thing by taking out Mycosynth Lattice while they've sort of got the opportunity, and hopefully we won't see any major changes in Modern for quite a while, and it can sort of stabilise a little bit, and we can start to see a little bit more creativity in decks and not just Oko this, Oko that.
Well, they need to keep Modern healthy because it's now got direct competition with Pioneer, right?
Yeah.
So it's Modern's sweet Modern is probably my favourite format. But when Modern's bad, it's really bad. Yeah. And we saw that with Hogak, right? So it is something that I'm glad that Wizards is paying attention to it, and they're not just focusing on their new baby with Pioneer.
Speaking of new babies, we have a new set coming out.
I was really scared for a second. I was like, what is going on?
Oh, we're having another kid.
Who's announcing what now?
No, we are not. We are not having another kid. just make sure that's clear. No, there is a new set coming out. We've mentioned it a few times on the last couple of podcasts. Theros Beyond Death. We're returning back to Theros again, which is the Greek mythology-based world. And I know for a few of us on this cast, we sort of came back into playing Standard when Theros was sort of still kicking around. So we've sort of seen some of it before, but haven't really had a chance to play with it as the main feature in a set. So it should be pretty interesting. But we have the pre-release. So we're recording this on the Thursday night, as we normally do, and pre-release is tomorrow. So I believe most of us are planning on attending the 7 o'clock session at Ringwood tomorrow night, other than you, I think, Scott.
Yeah, no, it's too far for me.
Yeah, too far for a Friday night. But I think the rest of us will be there. And yeah, as we've sort of been through with pre-releases before, how to sort of go about building your pool and a few of those sorts of basics. So if you haven't heard those casts, go back and look for through our previous episodes, and you'll find some on pre-releases. But yeah, we thought we'd just have a bit of a chat about some of the mechanics and things like that in Theros. So Cracker, I think you've got some stuff to take us away on there.
I do. So there's a couple of returning ones which we'll be able to cover off pretty quickly. So the most recently returning mechanic is Sagas. So Sagas are back, which is awesome. They were from the Dominaria set. So they're an enchantment, and they have chapters. So the first chapter triggers when you cast the Saga, and then each subsequent chapter will occur at the beginning of your first main phase. So there's one here I'm just looking at. It's called Elspeth's Nightmare. It's 2 and a black. The first chapter is destroy target creature an opponent controls with power 2 or less. The second chapter is target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. That player discards that card. And then chapter 3 is, why'd I pick this one? Exile target opponent's graveyard. Anyway, so Saga's really cool. One of the big themes in the Theros plane is enchantments. So there's a lot of enchantment removal. There's a lot of just there are flash enchantments. There's a lot of enchantment matters. There's constellation is one of the other key mechanics, which we'll get to in just a second.
So just before you jump off this card, if you have a look at the art of Elspeth's Nightmare, that's pretty close to a Phyrexian there, right? Are we going back to Phyrexia in the next...
So do you see that little spear thing that they're handing her? Some of the other artwork of Elspeth with that new black spear she's got, people are suggesting is covered in the ichor, which is Phyrexian black sludgy stuff. So yeah, I think there's some foreshadowing there.
Yeah, nice. Okay, something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it is cool when they sort of hide those little things in the artwork.
Little Easter eggs.
Yeah, we saw that a few years ago with the Eldrazi set, the one before that. It was... you had all these cool art, and then it was like, oh, hang on, if you look at that guy's got a tentacle hand and things like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Hang on.
Yeah, there was lots of foreshadowing for Emrakul in that one. And even in the flavor text, they were talking about the fact that they travel as a 3 and stuff like that, and we'd only seen Kozilek and Ulamog and things. So,
anyway, that's an old set.
That is an old set.
But Saga's really cool.
Again.
No, you're good. So one of the other... there's a couple of returning mechanics from Theros from the last time we were there. So one, which we just mentioned, is Constellation. So Constellation is a keyword that will be on a permanent, so either a creature or on enchantment itself. And it will basically says that when an enchantment enters the battlefield, something happens. So there are cards that will say, there's a green creature that gives a +1/+1 counter on itself when another enchantment enters the battlefield. Some of them will do -X to creatures for the number of enchantments you have. There's all sorts of different things. So whenever you see the keyword Constellation, it is about enchantments entering the battlefield. So fairly easy, fairly powerful, and keep in mind there are a lot of enchantment creatures, which is really cool, because then there are also cards like just disenchant. So enchantment removal actually works as creature removal as well, which is kind of fun. The other returning mechanic from the last time we were in Theros is Devotion, which is everyone's favourite thing. There was the infamous mono black and mono blue devotions from original Theros. And basically what Devotion says is for each colour mana symbol on permanents you control is your devotion. So you might have, I mean, the quintessential card that everyone's like hyping up about is Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Right, which is 3 and 2 black, Gary, as he is affectionately called. And basically what happens is when the Grey Merchant of Asphodel enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black, and you gain life equal to the amount of life lost this way. So he's a 5-mana 2/4 that if you cast with a completely empty battlefield, he drains all your opponents for 2 and you gain 2, or in a one-on-one game. But if you've got things like Bolas's Citadel in play, which has got 3 black pips, then all of a sudden it drains for 5. So it's one of those things where it goes up and up. And so the other thing that will happen with Devotion is you'll see I think it's called the Nyx Lotus, which is a 4-mana artifact that taps equal to the amount of Devotion you have. So there'll be a lot of things to do around permanents on the battlefield, which is really cool. So this set will be like the last Theros set, standard, was really grindy. Big, long games, big, long, splashy effects. There's all the gods, which are all based on devotion. So they're enchantments that become creatures when you reach an amount of devotion equal to whatever it says on the card. So some of them are 5, some of them are more. So, yeah, devotion's fun.
And it's really flavourful as well with the gods.
It really is,
the god kind is here and they do a thing, but then... Yeah, all the gods have a passive ability. So, like, there's Thassa, the new Thassa is the blue god, and basically her passive ability is at the beginning of your end step, you exile one of your creatures and it comes back into play. So you blink it, and so then there are lots of blue creatures and white creatures that have like enter the battlefield triggers. So you might get to scry a bunch, or you might get to draw some cards, or tap something down. So there's all those kinds of things. But eventually, when you have enough devotion, so Thassa has enough worshippers, effectively, she becomes like a 6/5 indestructible creature. So, and then it has her ability as well. So yeah, very flavorful.
And devotion's, it's pretty easy to work out. Like, you literally just really count the coloured mana symbols in the permanents that you have on the battlefield.
Yep. So nothing to do with the stack, nothing to do with your hand or your graveyard. Yep. It's the creatures and enchantments you can see.
Yep.
And so there's a new mechanic for this one, which is called Escape. And so Escape is a new keyword, and it says, I'm looking at one here called Cling to Dust. So I just had some... it says, okay, so Cling to Dust is an instant. It says, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, you gain 3 life, otherwise you draw a card. And that has Escape of 3 and a black. And it says, exile 5 of the cards from your graveyard. And then you cast this card again. So it's similar to Flashback or Jumpstart. So these other mechanics we've had where you can cast cards from your graveyard.
But you're not exiling this card.
Exactly.
Though, right?
The big difference is that with those effects, they're one time. So you exile them and then they're gone. Like you can't ever cast them again. Whereas these ones go back into the graveyard, and as long as you can keep paying their escape costs, then they can continually be cast, which is really cool. So there's the new Elspeth Planeswalker, and all of her abilities are minus abilities, but then she has an escape. There are the Titans, and the new Titans are really interesting. So I should have had these ones pulled up. There's a blue-green one, which is called Oro, and it costs blue and a green, and when it enters the battlefield you can draw a card and put a land into play, but then it becomes sacrificed unless it was escaped. And so then there is an escape cost of I think it's 5
blue, green.
Oh yeah, blue, that's it, exactly. So blue, green, and then it comes into the battlefield and it's a 6/6 with the same effect, and then when you attack it has the same effect again. So and then there's also the black-red one, which is, I'm trying to remember, I think
whenever
you discard, someone got the text there.
Yeah, enters the battlefield or attacks, each opponent discards a card, then each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card this way loses 3 life.
There you go.
And it's sweet art on that, if you haven't looked it up. It's very, very cool.
So, yeah, that's kind of the new and returning mechanics for the set. There's other things which are evergreen now. So there's like Scry and Lifelink and Trample and Flying and all those kind of staples, which are really great. But yeah, those are the set specific ones, which will be cool. Really looking forward to playing with this stuff.
Escape is on creatures as well as spells.
Instants and sorceries, correct.
Yep. Yeah, cool. Escape is a pretty cool mechanic actually, and yeah, as long as you can continue filling your graveyard, then you can just keep casting the spell out of your graveyard. So we've never seen any issues with that before in the past.
No, never.
Recently, last year.
Scott, have you seen the full art basic lands that out of the set?
I was just about to mention that of everything you're talking about. I just keep looking at those land cards.
Yeah, me too. That's why
they are amazing. I'm thinking they're so cool. Yeah,
you want 20 of those mountains, don't you?
Absolutely, all of them. They're all great.
yeah, they're really nice.
They are pretty cool.
While we're on the topic of lands, this set's also going to finish the cycle of temples. So we'll get the other coloured temples. But something that I'm quite excited about from a standard perspective is a reprint of Field of Ruin as well. I think that's a really good card to have in the standard format. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that one just stay in standard now.
Yeah, it would probably be pretty good with Field of the Dead and those sorts of cards getting around.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, it would have been great. Yeah.
I've got a question, though, and it's got nothing to do with the actual mechanics. The mechanics, I understand, they're quite good. But one particular card I was looking at the other day, and it's the wording on it has just got me stumped. And I was reading it just now, thinking, I'll understand it now. Still don't understand it. Haktos the Unscarred, it's a 2 red, 2 white. And it says, Haktos the Unscarred attacks each combat if able. Fair enough. As Haktos enters the battlefield, choose 2, 3, or 4 at random. Haktos has protection from each converted mana cost other than the chosen number. What does that mean? Choose 2, 3, or 4 at random.
Okay.
It means we're trying to play Hearthstone is what it means.
So what happens is you would literally grab a D6 and say 1, 2 is 2, 2, 3 is... 3, 4 is 3, 5, 6 is 4.
Yep. So you roll the D3.
That's
roll the
dice. It all.
And then basically what that means is when a card has protection, if you've got a creature that is a 3-mana 3/3 and your guy has protection from everything but 3-mana spells, then, like they can block it and kill it. But otherwise you can just attack and they can't block, or you can block and it can't deal damage to it. It's weird.
Yeah, protection's one of those odd ones where damage is prevented, the creatures can't block, you can't enchant the creature. Basically, they
can't target it with spells.
Yeah. Protection is a really powerful mechanic, ability, but this card is confusing because, to choose that... Yeah.
I'm still trying to get my head around it. So I play the card... put it down, he enters the battlefield, so I roll, we'll say a 4
D3.
die. Yeah, D3. Okay, so I roll a 6, so that represents 4.
Yep.
What happens then? So, okay, I'll roll a 4.
So he now has protection from anything, whether it's a creature, an enchantment, an instant sorcery, anything that has a converted mana cost, so its total mana cost is 4.
So anything that costs... except 4, isn't it?
Oh, sorry, except for 4. Yes.
So that means anything that costs 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
15.
Whatever. Yeah, anything doesn't do anything to it. So it's basically the lore behind this, Scott, is it's Achilles, and that's his Achilles heel. So there's this one thing that can do damage to this guy or kill him or whatever, and anything else he's basically indestructible to.
His flavor text says, "Many have sought my weakness, all have failed."
Okay. Yeah. So depending upon what type of opponent you're against, if you're up against a low mana cost red deck, you'd want to roll on a low figure. But then if you're playing against like a green player or something with a higher creature count, you'd want to have a higher number.
No, I think you want the opposite to that, don't you?
The other way around, yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, so...
It's ridiculous. Okay, this is a card I will not be playing.
Scott opens the pre-release and just tears it up.
I don't think this card's particularly good anyway, Scott.
Good.
like red, white for a 6/1 is hard to cast. If he had haste, maybe it would be good. But yeah, to add that random thing on there, I don't know. I'll probably lose to this card, but
I don't know, man. I think it seems really strong in limited.
Limited, yeah, it's very strong.
I don't know.
I agree. The mana cost is prohibitive, but I mean, you cast it at any point after turn 4 or 5, and I mean, what do they do? They've got to have. If they don't have any like 3-drops, all of a sudden you just like smash their face in. They've got to have that exact CMC.
Yeah, but how many limited decks don't have a 3-drop?
Sure, and so that's
the thing. It dies to absolutely, like it dies to anything that meets that condition, right? Because a 6/1 like doesn't have trample, doesn't have first strike, doesn't have haste. Like I could see playing this card, and you have to get lucky with what you roll. Like there's that random element, and then it's like, then they had a 2-drop, a 3-drop, and a 4-drop because they've got a limited deck and they build it with a curve. So no matter what I roll, this card's useless, and it's a 4-mana 6/1. It's like I would have been better. Kind of.
I mean, red has a lot of pump spells, so the fact that it doesn't have haste and it has the clause of must attack each turn, like, I think you can work around it. I'm not saying it's amazing. I'm not saying it's like,
red's got a lot of pump spells,
it's not a mythic. A lot of first strike as well.
You might go, I would have been able to pump it, but it's got protection from converted mana cost too.
It has protection from your spells as well.
Yeah. So I'm not feeling this card.
I didn't even realise that.
It's cool. It's splashy and it's cool, but I don't think it's particularly good.
One card I do feel, though, is this Hound of Athros. I think I'm pronouncing it right.
Oh, that's Joel's favourite.
Oh, I love that card. It's brilliant.
So do you want to read it out for us, Scott, for those who haven't...
All right. It's a legendary creature hound. It's 1 white, 1 black, and 1 colourless, or 1 any colour.
Generic?
Generic. That's the word I was looking for. It's got vigilance, menace, and lifelink. Creature cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. Love that. Players can't cast spells from the graveyards. I love that too.
Would you be aiming this at any particular cat players?
Yes.
But Scott, it's got lifelink. You hate lifelink.
No, I love lifelink. But I love the fact that you can't cast from graveyards. That's even better.
So if this has a shell to go in, Shorty, because often we see these really powerful cards, but they don't have a home. That's not uncommon. But if this has a shell that is a tier 1, 1.5 deck in standard, does this kill the cat oven combo, or do you just save your murderous riders for this?
Yeah, you probably just play around it. I don't think that's the thing with the cat oven deck is it's so resilient and it can just grind for so long that it just doesn't really matter. It's like, oh yeah, you played that dude. Now I can't bring my cat in this turn. Okay, well, I'm going to untap and then I'm going to kill your hound, and now I'm going to bring my cat back. And yeah,
or you bring your cat back a bunch of times with this guy on the stack, let him resolve, untap, exactly. Then kill it. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like players can't cast spells from graveyards. That's obviously aimed at escape cards because that shuts that off. So I mean, if we see an escape deck that gets really popular, then yeah, this guy's probably going to see a fair bit of play. But I mean, it's a decent card. Like it's kind of, other than missing haste, it's sort of similar to the questing beast. Like it's. Yeah, 3 heads, 3 abilities seems to be the way to go for Wizards these days.
Yeah, if I was playing, let's say I was playing a hypothetical black-white Knights deck, like this guy would be in some number in my sideboard at the very least. Like I think it's but he's probably got good enough stats to be in the main deck in a lot of decks as well. So yeah, it's something that you've got to be aware of.
Definitely. Just to what Joel said before about me hating lifelink, he's actually quite right. I do hate lifelink normally when I'm playing a red deck. But if I'm playing a white deck, I love lifelink.
Yeah.
The last card that I wanted to talk about, and Uro got mentioned before, but I just want to say anybody who plays Muldrotha in Commander is obviously going to be pretty excited about this card. It fits the theme really well. I'll be looking for a foil if anyone wants to trade me one to go into my Muldrotha deck. Thank you very much.
I'll be putting that card straight into the Simic ramp board deck that I've been also playing on Arena because that's definitely going to help with the ramp, and
Yeah, it does everything you want, doesn't it?
You playing Growth Spiral in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I saw Mengucci today. They've had the streamer event, the Theros streamer event, where they've given a bunch of people, Wizards, if you're listening, next time you do one of these things, we would like to have access to this as well. That'd be really cool.
Completely unlocked accounts.
But yeah, I saw Mengucci post today the decks that he was going to be playing on the streamer event, and one of them was the Simic Ramp deck, the Finale Boar deck, and he basically took out 2 quasi-duplicates, 1 Agent of Treachery, and 1 Hydroid Krasis, and put in 4 of that Uro, however you say its name, and go for it. So I could definitely see that being quite good, and I've had a bit of fun playing that deck, so yeah, I'll be keen to give that a crack as well. I think that's all we'll probably touch on for Theros. Like I said, if you want a bit more advice on how to play at a pre-release and sort of how the night works, that sort of thing, then go back and look at our previous episodes. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how Theros sort of shapes the metagame, because it's been a little bit stale for a little while now, so it could do with a little bit of a shake-up. So we, speaking of going to Next Level Games Ringwood, man, I'm just smashing these segues tonight. They're just so smooth. The Magic Beans are combining with Next Level Games Ringwood.
Joel, can you host again next week, please? Yeah.
I'm a bit out of practice.
He's never going to get better if we don't let him keep doing it, man.
He forgot to wear his fez, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway. Yes, the Magic Beans are hosting or helping to put on a bushfire relief tournament. I know, Chewy, you've been sort of the one driving this in the background.
Yeah.
But in case you don't know, somehow, if you're somewhere in the world that you haven't heard the fact that most of Australia is on fire or has been on fire for the last few months, we have some massive bushfires here, and there's a lot of devastation that's happened. A lot of people's houses are getting destroyed, and it's been a lot of
wildlife dying.
Yeah. A lot of sort of cries for support, and we sort of thought as a podcast we'd do what we can. So, Chewy, you've been sort of spearheading this. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown?
I read online this week that an area the size of Scotland has already been burnt, and those fires are expected to burn because of where they're burning in some pretty remote places. They're expected to burn for another month at least. So it's a lot of area burnt, and a lot of people and animals impacted by that. And me personally, the place I grew up on the south coast of New South Wales was hit really severely. I've had some friends that I went to school with lose their houses, and been really badly affected. Some people were cut off, and one of the girls I went to school with had her power restored today after 17 days without it. So food and things have been an issue, but yeah. So I felt compelled to help, to do something, and I could jump online and donate my what I could afford, or I could spend a bit of my time and try to bring the Magic community together, and ultimately donate more than I would be able to do as an individual. So this is the way that we can help. So massive shout out to Andy from Next Level Games at Ringwood, who agreed without any hesitation to help us out with this. So on the 9th of February, which is in about I don't even know the date this now, in about 3 weeks time from when we're recording this, we're going to hold a fundraiser event, and the generosity of the Beans and Andy and the other people involved in this has been absolutely incredible. The donations that have flooded in are absolutely mind-blowing, and just goes to show Australians have gone, we need to help, and people want to help, and to be able to help by playing Magic, it makes helping really easy. So I did a quick tally today, and things that have been donated thus far are exceeding $1,500 worth, and we're talking savannas and scrublands, original jewel lands, and sealed boxes, Shorty's Flooded Strand Nationals playmat still in the plastics, never had a card on it. All sorts of things like that. The San Diego Comic-Con Planeswalker promos, which are incredible, and some Judge foils, which are sweet. And so what we'll be doing is we're running 2 events. So kicking off at 11 is Australian 7-point Highlander. We'll put the link to the to that format in the show notes, but effectively Highlander is, think, Vintage Cube or Holiday Cube that's been on Magic Online, but the constructed version, and there's a points list for the really powerful cards. It's basically the sweetest format. It's the best way you could possibly play Magic. So if you've never done that, look it up and build a deck. It's going to be amazing. And then kicking off a couple of hours after Highlander starts will be a Pioneer event, which I know a bunch of the Beans are pretty excited about, and Scott, you're hoping to make it up as well. So yeah, and we're going to have a bunch of auctions, and something that I'm really excited about, and again, the generosity of the Beans, and shout out to Matt who has donated this. But if you enter the event, you'll be entered into the draw to win a foil Scalding Tarn, which is absolutely insane. It's an enormous prize, and we're just giving that away. That's been donated. So just come and sign up for the event and hang around for the day, and you'll get the chance to win a pretty epic prize as well. So all proceeds are going to the CFA, or Country Fire Association or Authority, Bushfire Disaster Appeal, and that money goes directly to the firefighters that are on the front line. So from speaking to people I went to school with, and you've only got to watch the news, like, these people are saving people's properties, and in a lot of cases saving people's lives, and in some really tragic cases, in doing that, they've lost their own lives, and that is, a tragedy that they've put themselves in that situation to help others. And what this appeal's doing is giving them equipment. It's literally the fuel in the trucks and in the helicopters to fight these fires. It's the equipment, the safety equipment that they wear, the masks to protect them from the smoke, etc. So we can't give enough to these people, really, and the opportunity to give that to give back as a Magic community to such to these people that are they're heroes to us.
These guys are legends, right? They're all volunteers as well. They're not being paid to do any of this. They've just gone, well, my neighbour's house is on fire, we should just put it out, right? And they're in the worst possible circumstances you can imagine. These bushfires are inconceivable in size. Like, you talk about there was a lot of news about the Amazon fires and then also the California fires. The Aussie fires are more than 10 times the size of both of those put together. The scale is just uncomprehendable. They
reckon that the smoke from the fires on the East Coast are actually going to lap around the world and hit Perth.
Yep.
So that's across New Zealand, across the Atlantic, whatever ocean that is, across the bottom of South America, and then wrap back around. It's absolutely incredible. Like Melbourne, where we live, this week had some of the worst air quality in the world. It's not just affecting people that are on the on the front lines, but the health of those around the place as well. Like I work in healthcare, and the amount of people that are rocking up with respiratory issues. A lot of people need a lot of help, and we as a podcast, and with our mates at Next Level Games, and Gareth, friend of the podcast, who's a Magic judge, has volunteered his time as his contribution to help judge this event, so it'll run smoothly and professionally. And massive shout out to Jim, who's helping us actually put this together, because we've never done this before. So I really am really grateful, and like I've I've got a bit of a personal connection to it because of the people and the places directly affected, and will be eternally grateful for everybody who comes and everyone who has contributed, and like just come and play some Magic. Like that's all you need to do. The EV of these events is off the charts. So like if you've got a Pioneer deck, if you've got a Highlander deck, come down and play, because like it'll be worth your while, and every cent that you donate through your entry and through the auctions that'll be on the day goes to such a worthy cause. So
and even if you don't, like, even if you just want to come hang out for an hour and, you know, like bid on some auctions, there'll be a few random cards lying around and that sort of stuff, and, you know, if you just want to grab one of us and say, hey, let's play some standard or whatever, we'll all have decks of all descriptions there. If you just want to come and support in any way that you can, that would be amazing. And if you're international and you want to help, I mean, there are lots of different super worthy organisations. The CFA is one that we just kind of picked, but, you know, there are a whole bunch that are helping the wildlife directly. There's lots and lots of worthy causes. So if you want to, you know, donate in some way, feel free to, you know, hit us up on Twitter or Facebook or something, and we can, you know, send you links to places that the money will go to the people and, you know, the animals that need it the most.
Absolutely.
We'll make sure we put all the links for the event and all that sort of stuff in the podcast notes. So yeah, definitely hit that up, because it is, yeah, I mean, we're pretty lucky where we are in Melbourne that the fires haven't been super close to us. They have been a couple of hours out of Melbourne, but none of us have been affected in terms of our own properties. But yeah, even just the air quality, like the smoke a couple of days ago, it's like as soon as you walked outside your house, it's like I'm standing next to a bonfire. That's how thick the smoke is. It's pretty crazy. And like Cracker said, these guys that are out there trying to put out these fires, most of them are volunteers and they're not even getting paid. So anything we can do to help is going to be great, and it's definitely a worthy cause that the Magic community can get behind. So make sure you show your support in whatever way you can, and we hope that we can see you on the day and jam some games with you. Keep an eye out for the guys in the Beans t-shirts. That'll be us.
That's it. Getting some special ones made, I hear. So we might even put one or two of those up for auction if you want to get around in your special Beans t-shirt and rep the cause as well. So that should be pretty cool.
Sounds good. All right, well, on to the last thing we just wanted to touch on before we close up tonight. We mentioned it, I think, last year. It sort of got announced, and start of this year, finally got a few more details. So the Good Games, we're doing a really good job of spreading the love around to all the stores on this episode. So Good Games, which is another store chain in Australia, and I believe there's some overseas as well. They've announced their championship series. So we sort of touched on it previously, that it's pretty similar to how the SCG circuit works in the States, where you play in their store events and things like that and build up points. And you accrue enough points, you get into their championship and win some good prizes at the end of the series, that sort of thing. So if Good Games is your local store, make sure you head to events there, because even things like Prereleases give you points towards their championship series. So everything that you play in their stores is going to go towards it. But the main thing I wanted to quickly look at was their Premeier Series, which was something that they had sort of mentioned in their announcement last year, which is their PPT or PTQ weekends. So Good Games hosted the MCQs that we played in last year, the Mythic Championship qualifiers, and obviously with all the rebranding that's going on, we're now going to Players Tours and those sorts of things. So they're no longer running those events. Instead, they're holding almost like GP level events over a weekend. So they're a Saturday and a Sunday, and they're going to have main events where you can qualify for the Players Tour, as well as side events running on each day and all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty cool that we're actually getting something like that in Australia, because we definitely miss out on, we get our one Grand Prix a year now, which sucks.
Yeah.
So other stores sort of stepping up and sort of putting something on is great for us, because we don't get to get many of those things. And by them putting out their schedule early in the year, it means we can actually plan ahead. So we're pretty lucky in Melbourne. We're going to get 2 this year. So the first one will be on the weekend of the 7th and 8th of March, which unfortunately is my anniversary weekend, but I'm sure I'll be able to play at least one day.
and after that, you'll be able to play all the events.
Yeah. And then there's another one in Melbourne in September. But yeah, there's Melbourne in March, Adelaide in April, Sydney in May, Brisbane in June, Sydney again in August, and then Melbourne again in September. So big weekend events, plenty of things going on, and it's another chance for you to qualify for the Players Tour. So I'm definitely putting that in my calendar, and I think probably a few of you other beans will be doing the same sort of thing. And yeah, hopefully we can get there and have a good showing and get one of us on the Players Tour.
That would be awesome.
Would be pretty cool.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I think that's the last thing we wanted to mention. We've started to run a little bit long tonight, and of course we didn't get to any of our topics from our list, so maybe next episode we'll see how we go.
Next episode we'll talk about how we did at the pre-release.
Exactly.
And the bannings that'll inevitably happen.
It's a never-ending
Hopefully
cycle.
we talk about me winning the PTQ, right?
Yes, yeah, that'd be nice. But yeah, I think we'll close it out there before we start rambling and Chewy takes us on another tangent. So if you want to get in touch with us to show some support for the Bushfire event, or find out any more details, or just give us any feedback on the podcast, then make sure you hit us up, and you can do that in all the usual places. So send us an email, magicbeanscast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter @magicbeanscast. Look for us on Facebook or YouTube. Just search for Magic Beans Cast or Magic Beans Podcast. You'll find us on there. Chewy put up a video recently of him and Cracker doing Vintage Cube.
Man, that was so much fun.
It was a pretty cool video, and you guys did very well. Just a little spoiler there, but it's
that deck was pretty broken.
That deck was
go and watch
amazing.
that; it's pretty fun. Yeah,
definitely worth a watch. If you want to get in contact with me for any reason, you can find me on Twitter @Peace Inc. Chewy, you are
@Chewy MTG.
Cracker
@JoelHill_.
and Scott
The Real Blaster.
Very good. And that'll do us this week. Thanks for listening to us again, and we will see you next time.